Hello, I'm Venus with Galaxy Inc. And for this week's writing tips, we are on week 8 of our Elements of Writing series, and we're going to be talking about theme this week. Now, theme is very analogous. So for me, what I think of when I think of theme is like the aboutness of the story. Like if you had to boil down the basic message that your book is telling overall, what is it? What is this thing that you want your reader to take away from the story? And not a moral of a story, and we'll get into that a little bit in a moment, but really just kind of what this overall message is that we're trying to tell. So the problem with theme and it being so analogous is that it's not something that you can really think about while you're writing that first draft. While you're writing that first draft, you should just be focusing on telling a good story. And the character arcs and the voice and all of the things that we've already talked about for the past 7 weeks. Now when we get into theme is kind of a later thing. It's something that happens when we start doing revisions. So you finish your first draft, you look at the overall story, you say, what is the aboutness of my story? For example, I started writing a book and I thought that the aboutness of the story was about change and how a lot of times we change and don't even realize it. That is not what the story was really about, though. In the end, the story was about friendship and what it takes to be a better person. And that is not what I originally thought my story would be about, right? But at the end, when I was done, that was it, which meant that when I went back and started revising, I had to make sure that theme, those elements of friendship and really making a concerted effort to be a better person, were kind of throughout every chapter, right? And that the book kind of always pointed that direction towards that theme. I think so. What I'm basically saying is this is not something I want you to stress about when you're writing your first draft. Don't worry about it. Maybe you might realize what your theme is later. Maybe you already know, you have it in your head and just let it go. It's a little easier to find theme when you're writing a memoir or a book about yourself, as opposed to when you are, writing kind of a story that maybe you don't even know what the end is yet. Theme can be a little weird that way. And I think it's a little easier to find when you're writing nonfiction as opposed to when you're writing fiction. So if we were taking this concept, this analogous concept, right? I want you to think about theme almost like that one sentence tagline that's on like a movie poster or on the front of a book. It's kind of like a focus and an aboutness. And so a good example, I've got 3 books here and I've got them listed so I can remember them. So No Place Like Here by Christina June. The tagline on the front of the book is, life leads you to unexpected places, love brings you home. That is an aboutness of the story. The whole story boiled down to 2 sentences. It's obviously about love and how life leads you to unexpected places. That's the theme. And then through the whole book, I expect to see that in it, which it is. The City Machine by Louis Trimble is to create a new metropolis, press the right button, and run. Well, that's promising me some action, right? And so I expect the story, and maybe that's not quite the theme, but that's definitely kind of the aboutness of the story and what I expect to see throughout the rest. Last Things by Jacqueline West. The basic thing is just this: someone is always watching. Oh, okay. Like that's a little creepy, right? And that's the aboutness of the story. We're creating these themes. And it's really hard to do when it's your book, right? To boil it down, not just to like a summary, but like a sentence or just a word. So common themes that you'll see in books are compassion and courage, death, dying, friendship, honesty, redemption, fortitude, revenge, the importance of family, the benefits of hard work, power, love, mental fortitude. Did I mention that one already? I'm not sure. Perseverance, loyalty. That one's always a big one. And then you can see those in the books that we read, right? The Hobbit is about courage. The Book Thief is about death and dying. Sense and Sensibility is about love. Count of Monte Cristo is revenge. And those themes kind of permeate through, right? They kind of, this is a weird one to compare it to, but I almost think of it like a smell. Let's say that I got this room spray that smells like hot chocolate. So you spray it and it just permeates the whole house. The whole house starts smelling like hot chocolate. That's how your book is almost. You've inserted this theme, and then the whole book needs to have a little bit of that in there sprinkled throughout. Theme is not the moral of the story. Moral of the story can exist in like fairy tales, and they're meant to teach something or scare readers. But the moral is a lesson that the author specifically wants to teach. And theme is more general. It's not as specific as that. So you can have more than one theme in a story too, right? But maybe only one moral of the story. So Romeo and Juliet, the theme is love. It's pretty simple, right? But there's also some morals that could be learned in there about maybe family feuds and how they can ruin your family's lives if you let them fester, or don't let your ego get in the way of common sense, especially when it comes to your children. There's kind of like these little lessons that you can learn at the end, but they're not all, they're not the theme. The theme is just love, So theme is kind of the glue that holds your story together. It just exists throughout the book. When you're revising, you have to go back through and make sure the theme is, present throughout. I know you're probably thinking, well, that's great, but how do I find my theme? How do I know what my theme is? How do I boil it down to this very general word? So first, try summarizing the plot of your book. Try to create an elevator pitch. That's what I call it, an elevator pitch. So, and if you don't know what that means, it means imagine that you hop in an elevator and you're standing next to a publisher, editor, agent, and they say, "What's your book about?" And you have from floor 1 to floor 10 to tell them what your book is about. Not very long, so just a couple sentences. My book is about, and then you tell them, and you make sure that you put in there, 1 to 3 sentences, really, just very short, like a little blurb on the front of a book, and going back to No Place Like Here, life leads you to unexpected places. Love brings you home, and maybe another sentence or two about the characters. So see if you can't boil your book down to that. Okay. And then identify the insight or the truth that was learned about the subject. So if you're writing nonfiction, what's the insider truth there? Not the subject itself, but rather what was learned in the end. Love conquers all. Courage can be found in unexpected places. The benefits of hard work, whatever that theme is, kind of identify it within just those sentences that you've created for the elevator pitch. And then once you've done that, you can pull out that underlying main focus of the story and really boil it down to 1 or 2 words, just a little phrase. And that is your theme. And again, I keep warning you, but I don't want you to focus on it if you're writing a first draft. Your theme is something that kind of comes later, and it is something that has to be kind of, you got to go back and especially if your theme has changed, you're writing halfway through and you think your book's about, how people change over the years, like in mine, and then really it's about friendship. Well, then I'm going to have to go back and make sure that in chapters 1 and 2 and 3, I'm also kind of hinting at that theme at the very beginning. But I couldn't do that while I was writing the first draft. Honestly, I couldn't do that when I was writing the second draft. I hadn't quite found that connection to my theme yet. And once I did, it all kind of tied together in like a bow. And I was like, oh, here it is. I found it. I can't believe that it took me draft like 5 to figure it out. So yeah, there's a way to find your theme. It's not something I want you to focus on. It is important to your story. And maybe this will actually get you thinking about that elevator pitch and so you can boil down your story a little bit and really pull it down to its main essence. So don't forget to press like and subscribe to my channel. I post new writing tips almost every Friday. If you think you're ready to hire an editor, you can check me out at galaxy-inc.com. I've been Venus with Galaxy Inc. I hope your writing is out of this world.